In our main topic this week here on Mastering Dungeons, we are going to talk about the DungeonsandDragons.com website, which has recently been updated. We want to look at it through many different lenses, because not only is it a marketing tool, not only is it an information tool, not only is it a place where new people will come to learn about the game, it has to reach a lot of different audiences and provide a lot of different information. So we want to take a bit of a deep dive into it to look at it from these various aspects. Teos put a wonderful image of which site is that? TSR Incorporated?
Yeah, that's the original TSR website. I'll put an image on the YouTube for people to look at. I always enjoy looking back at these screenshots, in particular this first one, which is the very first website by TSR. And it just has like a bad image of a beholder, a like background of the TSR logo in black and gray. It's hard to even read. And around what they've tried to do is around the different eyes of the beholder, put little things that you can click on. And then there's, links you can click underneath, because it's probably hard to do that. It was such a bad website that I actually, despite being a very nice person normally, I emailed whatever this contact page was that they had here to say, you really need to step up this website. And I got an email back from Shawn Reynolds, who apparently on the side was responsible for this website, and he was not happy with me. He used words, and I always laugh about that, because Shawn Reynolds is a fantastic person, and I can just only imagine that at the end of a long day, he got my non-helpful email. I don't think I was mean or anything like that, but it was very funny. And also here in our show notes, you'll see a screenshot, and I'll put it up on the YouTubes, but a picture of the RPGA website with this weird like red brick. I mean, it's just such a, it's a thing. So yes, we're not going to talk about those websites, but it's fun to keep that history in mind.
Yeah, that's a mid to late 90s website, both of those right there. Mm-hmm. So every once in a while, we as super fans, as hardcore players, as dungeon masters, as game designers, as people who are steeped in the industry, need to step back and look at the hobby and the industry through the eyes of a brand new DM or brand new player. How easy is it to get in the game without help? What tools are available to help me as this new player learn about the game, learn about how to play it, learn about what it takes to play it, connect with other people who want to play? Where does someone go to learn how to play D&D?
Yeah.
And I knew that there was a newish website, and I'm also teaching D&D right now in my class. We've just started the Dungeons and Dragons segment of our program.
Cool.
And I need to teach the people in the class that don't play D&D how to make a character. I also have to keep those super fans engaged. It is not easy. It is terribly difficult to try to figure out in the time that I have how to point someone in the right direction so they can take the steps they need to learn this. So I went to the D&D website thinking, what tools are now available? And I saw the new website, and I was like, I need to research this and talk about this in a lot of different ways. Did you check out the new website, Teos?
I sure did. I had fun. Okay. And just like you, I mean, we are of like mind. I approached it as, what if I don't know what I'm doing? Because in general, that's been, I think, what the D&D website has been for the past, more than 15 years, right? Longer than 5e. There has been this return towards the more as a marketing and new player portal, generally, with exceptions. Whereas if we go back to 3rd edition, particularly, that website was full. It was more like the D&D Beyond site has been at times, right? Where there are articles, there are updates, there are in progress reports on books. 3rd edition was full of that, right? It had downloads, and it was, the expectation was if you're a D&D fan, you live on this site. And we've seen a departure from that over the years, right? To where it's not for the hardcore, it's actually more for the person who's trying to figure out what to do with D&D.
Yeah. And the challenge of experienced players, experienced creators dealing with new players is we forget what they don't know.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
one of the suggestions I was given on how to help new players get characters made, learn the rules, is pair them up with somebody who knows, pair them up with an experienced player. And this was actually on the Eldritch Lorecast. And I said, that is a great idea. And that is a terrible idea, depending on the person who I'm pairing someone with. Because if I pair them with the right person, that's going to go swimmingly. If I pair them with the wrong person, that student will never come back to class because they will be terrified by this rabid D&D fan who is so enthusiastic and has all the best intentions in the world, but ends up just overwhelming and driving them away.
Yeah.
And websites can do that as well. Believe it or not, right? It can be overwhelming. It can be too much information, or it can be the wrong information. So that's why we want to look at this website. How does it handle the different sections that it has? What information is it trying to impart? Because not only are we looking at it by what do new players need to know, we can look at it by what does Wizards of the Coast want people to see? What direction do they want people to look in? What are they pushing versus what might they not be? And I will say this now, I am a contractor for Wizards of the Coast. I am not a full-time employee. I had no input into what this website looks like. My opinions here are all my own, for better or for worse.
Yep. Yeah, and I work with Wizards all the time and any number of other partners, and I too have no idea what the website would be. And it's fun looking at it. It's neat to just, and if you're at home, just go to dungeonsanddragons.com and just for, just take in that first, delight / assault screen for your senses, right? As these scenes play out, it's really cool sort of effects. We get a Ravenloft page, and then it scrolls through to a D&D Beyond page with Player Way. It's got an image that's sort of the default when you first get there. Welcome to Dungeons and Dragons. It's got a dwarf jumping up, attacking a dragon, and there's all this, fire around, really cool animations. There's the Dungeon Masters series. So clearly they'll have this rotating series that will greet you here, which, you get it. You talk about costs and what this all takes, which is important business consideration. Someone has to be on this and maintain this. And if they're working with an agency, it means paying that agency every time to say, well, swap out this thing for that other thing, even though we spent all that money on it, because now this is the new hotness, right? And then, of course, there is the scrolling where you can scroll below and see things, and there's the menu bar. So just that first look, that is important of what is it showing me? What are the options they've chosen to highlight? And then I can look at the menu and I can go down below, right? That's all very interesting.
Yeah. And I need to reinforce what Teos just said. The reason that they pushed everybody toward the D&D Beyond website at first was because they had more control over that. It was less expensive to make changes there. They could get changes done more quickly there. With the highly graphical, highly mobile, flashing sites like DungeonsandDragons.com is now, it's harder to change. It's harder to design. It takes more money. It takes more time. So that a lot of thought went into this because it's probably going to be much more static than you would get on D&D Beyond.
Yeah, and interestingly, that has always been a question, right? Back when D&D Beyond was a separate company, they were doing their thing, and they were doing a lot of content, right? They had, you wrote an article series, they had James Hake writing a bunch, and they've had a number of people writing great articles over time. And that was because they were trying to get you to live on their website, which wasn't an official website, right?
Right.
To the point, they did such a great job, as you said, that to the point where D&D actually said, D&D Beyond is our main website, and they even removed the D&D website that people had used, and all that content vanished. And now this new website is back. And what's funny is I went to the D&D Beyond website. I think this is a little longer than a week ago, but if you go to the D&D Beyond website now, it now has that sort of animation screen with a different sort of welcome to Ravenloft and character sheet. So there is some of that same thing. And that becomes one of those questions of like, we have two websites. If you do, you can have a slightly different goal for one, but the goal can start slipping because you don't want to not do what the other one did. And that's a question too of how you avoid this confusion. Why are people coming to one site or the other? It's an interesting.
Yep. That's one thing I want to talk about as we get further in is what is the interaction between the two sites?
Yeah.
What's the goal of one site? What's the goal of the next? So let's talk first about the opening screen. Teos already sort of described the animation. One of the first buttons you see is Discover. And if you click Discover, you have a couple of choices. One is called The Feeling of Play. The other is called Your Inner Hero. And so when you click on The Feeling of Play, you get a flashy image of text that says, you and your companion step into a cavern of jagged stone and echoing silence. The hairs on your neck rise as shadows shift overhead. A beholder floats forward, its many eyes watching. What do you do? All right. So right there, one of the things that you want players to understand is the game loop. Right. You don't want to be pedantic about it like I am and say, well, first you set up the scene and then you da. No, but it's, you are getting a narrative that affects you personally. And then the question, what do you do, comes up. In this case, you have a choice of four things. You can say, I fight it. You can say, I study it. You can click, I talk to it, or you can click, I run away. So what do you do, Teos? Fight it, study it, talk to it, or run away?
It's a beholder. I'm a new character. I run away.
You run away. So it says you notice a hidden passage and your party dashes to escape. Then a little icon comes up that says, does it work? And you have to click that. And I was like, oh, cool. We're going to have a die roll, right? We're going to have something that, because that's what the game is. It's right. It's narrative. Yeah. It's what do you do? It's you make your choice. And then there's a die roll involved to see if you succeed or fail. And so I was like waiting for a die to roll across the screen. I was waiting for something. And it just says, you get away. And then I went to another one and I clicked and it said, it runs away from you if you fight it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, you never fail? I don't know how I feel about that. But again, I am not the audience for this.
Right. Yeah. And the good thing about this is they are giving you a light taste of, I get to make choices. Different things happen. It doesn't quite show consequences, but different things happen.
Yeah.
And then you can play again and try a different thing, which might be actually the most disappointing thing to do. You can go back to the homepage, you can create your hero, or continue to journey to play on D&D Beyond is what it tells you. So at least it's a very clear funnel attempt, right? This idea of the funnel bringing people in and through to the experience. It's maybe imperfect, but it's a hard task, and you're trying to avoid having a giant choose your own adventure on your website.
Right. Yeah, and that's where I need to stop and remind myself this is not for me. Right. I am the person who should not be selling this game in this instance, because my first inclination is make it more, show more, and we don't need to show more. To most people, we need to just get that experience across, show it in action, and then say, are you ready for the next step?
Yeah.
Now the next step, go ahead.
No, I think going to say the same thing, which is what you talked about, how you could click on two different things. That was the first thing you could click on. to discover the feeling of play, but there's also your inner hero.
Yeah. So your inner hero asks the question, what if you could shape your own destiny? In Dungeons and Dragons, you can. The choice is yours. And then there is an icon that says discover your D&D class. And you click it and you become an adventurer. So that whooshes past and it says danger appears. How do you respond? And you have 4 choices. Do you respond with magic and knowledge? Do you respond with weapons and strength? Do you respond with strategy and cunning? Or do you respond with belief and insight? All right, Teos, what do you respond with?
Oh, well, so I did belief and insight.
Okay, so if you click that, you get 3 more options. So we have 4 main options first, and then 3 options underneath that. So 4 times 3, Teos. The last I checked is 12. Do we see where this is leading?
Yes, we do. These are classes. So yes.
Teos chose belief and insight. You get 3 more choices. Do you call upon the divine for help? Do you wield the power of nature, or do you inspire courage as you smite evil?
Well, I, as an environmentalist, of course, had to click on wield the power of nature.
Well, then, Teos, you were told that you should play a druid.
Ooh, there you go.
Yep.
Perfect.
And you get a link that says go deeper into D&D Beyond. And if you click that, where should you go?
I would think that I'd go to D&D Beyond.
Where in D&D Beyond?
That quick play character builder that we covered recently.
Okay. Yeah, it takes you just to the My Characters page, where you would then have to click create a character, and then you would get to the choice of make your own, make a pre-made, do the quick build, or go to the full build.
How do you feel about that?
I want 1 more page in between those 2. I don't want to be, and I say this as thinking as a new user. Yeah. That page is still a little more busy than I need it to be. I'm still a little lost on that page if I haven't used it 10,000 million times. I want to go right to the pre-made, or not pre-made, but right to the quick. Yeah. And I want to make those choices.
I agree with you, because one of the things that happens, with users is you start looking, right? And so this web page, and usually start at the top left and you look a little bit to the right and then a little bit down, right? And so like, what do you see? Well, you see a menu of everything that D&D Beyond offers at the top. So you might just go elsewhere. Then you've got to play anywhere, anytime, download the app, which would also, get you into a place that's great to go, but not yet. And then you have the My Characters, which may make you think something's wrong if you don't see the create a character piece. So I can see that. I'm with you. I subscribe to your newsletter.
Now, I say this as somebody who's had to deal with programmers critiquing other people's websites without knowing all of the ins and outs of resources, of time, of money, of directives, of all those things. So I may be totally wrong, and this may be the best possible site it could have been based on all those factors. But now we see that transition from the marketing side, funnel, as Teos said, side of thing, into the actual place where you are interacting more directly with the rules, that the same audience that is experienced and dedicated and very user focused needs to live as well.
One thing that's interesting is if you're at that web page and you scroll down, you get to this discover, which is try it out. That was what we did the first time. Create your hero, which is what you did the second time, and continue your journey on D&D Beyond. And when you go there, it sets you to a page that has character creation method, very eye-catching, 3 graphics, standard quick builder, pre-made. And that's almost a better page
Yeah.
for what you're talking about, right? That makes more
Yeah.
sense than taking you to your characters, which for some reason that other link did. So yeah.
Yeah. It's a very small thing, but it can be the difference between somebody clicking one more time and then maybe clicking one more time after that and maybe clicking one more time after that,
Yeah.
or just saying, I don't know what to do on this page, I'm out.
Yep.
So that is the big welcome to Dungeons and Dragons,
Yep.
new person. Let us show you what this is about. Is it enough?
No, because people are going to come here for a lot of different reasons, right? They're going to want to see the various expressions of the D&D brand that might have brought them in here to begin with, right? You could argue that somebody could come in here saying, I watch Stranger Things, I want to become a DM, or I want to come here and find other players, or I want to even understand what a D&D session is like. Can I watch someone play it and break it down for me? I heard there's this great Baldur's Gate video game, right? Any number of things like that. You could see there are a lot of reasons why you might come to this page.
Yeah. And so now we're getting into some interesting marketing / user experience / I don't even know what the word I'm looking for is, territory, where we're trying to convert as many people as possible. Now, convert to what? That depends on the goals, right? Are we trying to convert them as just signing up in D&D Beyond? Are we trying to convert them to download the app? Are we trying to convert them to buy a subscription? All of those things. Are we trying to convert them just to get them into Discord? That becomes the question about what you want. Yeah. Now, I want to go a little bit further in, because as you scroll across, we start with that discover. Give me 1 second as my page loads.
Which, while you're doing that, I'll say the page load time is always a thing that's tough, right? Do you go with a quick load website that works so easily, so any computer supports it or not? And I did an interesting thing where, partly because I noticed my system was running a little slowly. And it was really kind of interesting to me. I looked at my system and how it was processing. And on the D&D website, in just running off my web browser, it was using somewhere between 1.2% of my CPU to 15% of my CPU, just being on that D&D website with its various graphics and things it's doing. My guess is on return trips, it's maybe lower. There are enough cookies or cached information, but it was pretty high rate. But what I really noticed was when I clicked on the link to the Ravenloft page, my CPU usage shot up to 40% and stayed there, even though that website wasn't doing anything new. It was just eating up 40% of my CPU. And that's one of those tough things that, like, I've got a pretty good computer. You needed 40% of my processing. So, something's kind of going on there. And those are challenges too, right? When you're trying to feed in these graphics and they're endlessly revolving. Well, if they consume enough, memory or CPU, that is a problem to people bounce away from that. Yeah.
It would be interesting to see on a mobile device too how it works.
I have looked at it briefly, but not in any great length.
So side scrolling, or if you wait long enough, it will automatically scroll to the right, and you first get the new series Dungeon Masters. So we talked about in our previous segment how streaming and actual plays were a big part of the spread of D&D's popularity in the mid 2010s. And so it's great when you don't have to do any work and get a bump, like we saw with Critical Role, like we saw with Stranger Things. But Wizards of the Coast is now highlighting, it's the second thing you come to as you scroll, that there's this new show. So they are definitely investing not just in the company, right? With all the new folks they've hired, with the new website, they are taking the time to do this show and have pretty good production values on it. So this is all right, I've come to the site. Oh, now I know sort of how the game is supposed to play. I can make a character. I can do this thing. How does it work? Well, now we're going to be given this as the second thing we see. Here is a show that you will be able to watch. We only have right now the trailer for the show, which is only about 30 seconds long, which may be good, may be bad. I don't know. But you can see that the company recognizes the importance of actual plays, and the importance of them controlling the message that this actual play does. Right? Otherwise, you could just say, "Go watch any old actual play."
Right.
What do you think?
A lot of things. Website wise, I think that it's good that it hits you up with, something interesting here. Click on this trailer, which will hopefully tell you everything you need to know in visual form in case you can't read, because your attention span's been destroyed by modern devices. It does say new what? It says new episodes weekly on Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time, or D&D's YouTube channel. So, the critical stuff is there. And if you scroll down, it says, what is it? It takes you to cast pictures, so you can get excited about that, presumably. And then down below shows you sort of grayed out that there will be these free claimable encounters and stuff. So I think this is all really good. Zooming out a bit to the show itself, I find a lot of recent actual plays, it's like everybody involved in the show knows how exciting it was to see the best part of, say, a Critical Role episode. And they're trying to have that happen every second of an actual play. And I get why, because that's great entertainment, right? In the same way that if you watch the Community episodes where the Dungeon Master does all the roles and directs all the action, because that's exciting for TV, right? But what happens is it's not even just about like the Matt Mercer effect of unrealistic play. It just doesn't feel like what the game actually is, because it's so acted, so exciting, so interesting, so my backstory, whatever. It can just feel a little unreal. It sort of exists in a sort of separate bubble from normal gameplay. And what I like about a lot of the actual plays that I did catch on to, Ack Inc. or things that were sort of more from the earlier eras, you really felt like they were real people playing. And they are being silly and funny in measured ways, in real ways, rather than feeling like I must act this and give you the dramatic moment now that my character will bring to life. It's just something about that. And so, but I could, of course, be wrong. What do I know about what is going to get clicks and hits? And maybe you want the biggest stars and whatever. For me, what I would like here on this website is an actual play that teaches me to play the game. And so I would like it to be very real, be very everyday, almost like, and they did link to it somewhere on this webpage, the NFL team that was playing D&D for the first time.
Right.
That's very real, right? They're being silly and funny and trying to figure out whether they even want to play this game. And that's almost a better introduction to help you understand. I'm not saying it's ideal, but it's very translatable, very identifiable for a random person to come and go like, oh, this is what it's like to be new. This is how I'll learn. These are the skills I'll develop. That's how you play.
I agree with everything you said, except this is also for a different audience. This is also for an audience that the new Ravenloft book is coming out, and they are using things. I want to know if I want to buy this book based on these subclasses, which some of these players are playing, based on the monsters that the game master's using, based on the lore in which, and so there's that element to it. And trying to serve many audiences with one thing, as we talked about it in the first segment, D&D 5e did it.
Yeah.
But it's a very difficult thing to do.
Yeah.
And
so, thread and needle.
Yeah. So we'll talk later about other media that is highlighted on this.
Okay.
So next, as we scroll across, we come to community. And the site gives us links to the D&D Discord, and to the Start Playing site.
It's also interesting. The community piece has to the left of it Deborah Ann Wall playing D&D in an escape room, which to me is not community.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
well, that's the $1 million question. Is it is not, but it also shows something that a new player might be familiar with, which is an escape room in a D&D way.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely not come to this community, but it is a sort of learn to play, see what you can do with your friends sort of thing. That's the best justification I can give for it.
Yeah. Yeah, it has these interesting community highlights. So it's this sort of like you see Deborah and Wall play, which, okay, maybe that's community. Then you have a social bar and a community. It's a bar with icons for social things like going off to Instagram or whatever. Community, Discord, Twitch, Reddit, and then community highlights. And there are two separate boxes which you can scroll each to two options. You can watch the Forgotten Realms one shot, this very produced actual play they did before, or learn about Dungeons & Dragons Fan Expo London. Oh, and Universal Fan Fest nights. And then on the other side, Need a DM Start Playing's got you, D&D and Discord. And the whole time I thought, when I clicked on community, I was going to get to organized play. I was going to get to virtual weekends.
Mm-hmm.
And that didn't happen, right? Yeah. Nothing here told me, hey, there's an organized play program. Now, maybe they'll add D&D encounters once that really fires off, but I would have thought that would have been here because community is store, community is conventions, right? Legends of Greyhawk, we talked about, our main segment just released. That is a great way to build community. You know, you can run that in a coffee shop. You know, where is that? It's not here. And I feel like this Forgotten Realms one shot, maybe that's super fun, but I don't see that as community, nor that awesome Deborah on Wall video, which I really love. It's got the dungeon dudes. You know, it's really super fun to watch, but to me, that's not a community piece.
Yep. As I said at the start of the segment, it's interesting what they chose to include, and it's also interesting what they chose not to include. Now, they, again, as I've said so many times, they is a term that we don't know who they is, because they might be one individual person making this decision. It might be a small group. It might be a committee. We don't know who put the final word in on what these things need to be.
If you click on that Start Playing link, it is a nice link that is how to find a great professional dungeon master. So, which is also, click on Start Playing, find games. But it does talk about things like consider your budget, do a one shot, communicate your expectations. It's some pretty reasonable, as pages go, a pretty reasonable place to link to. It's not just the search engine, but a guidance thing to think about, and then you can click on it. But I would love to see those virtual weekends there. There's, to me, it's no different a partner level between Start Playing and virtual weekends, but also things like, all the games you can play at PAX and at Gen Con and like that. To me, community should be, where can I play? Where can I find people? And you should cover a broader thing than what's here.
Yeah. It also mentions the D&D Beyond roadmap as somewhere under this community section. So you click it and it takes you to the D&D Beyond article where it says this is the roadmap that we're going to follow for D&D Beyond. And there's also Adventures from Our Partners section, which takes you to the roadmap for the partner content that they've have up on D&D Beyond, which we've talked about. And I thought this was so interesting that even before there really is a place where it's like, go here to buy books, there's, hey, look what our partners are doing, which to me was odd, but also refreshing that they just sort of,
but also this isn't community.
Right.
This is what I would have thought would have been in the TRPG section. it is great to have these things, and I like the way it's created is sort of interesting. The latest from across the D&D multiverse, what will enhance your play, what to look forward to. Those are neat ways to ask, but yeah, interesting.
And then we get to inspiring. And this is just a history of the editions for the last 50 years. And so you can click across this timeline of original D&D, first edition AD&D, et cetera, et cetera. Do they mention basic D&D in here?
Yeah, at the all the way to the left. No, just OD&D, which is interesting. Yeah, so then it's AD&D. Yeah, they don't have everything. It's interesting. I mean, I guess what they're trying to do is say, look at the long history we've had, right? Creativity for over 50 years. But I would have taken that stuff from Community and put it here. You can still have this as well if you'd like. But to me, this is, if I'm looking at that top level bar, Discover, Community, TRPG, video games, movies and streaming, Dungeon Masters, actual play. When I think about, hey, I'd like to buy something or I want to know what the products are, I would be going to TRPG and showing me the cover of OD&D or, Forgotten Realms Adventures. That's fun in the Inspire as a little bit, but I want to know what I have for offer. And that's what was up above in Community. And so feels a little misplaced, but interesting.
The next section is Exploring Digital. And it has a games section. And the first game that they show when you log or when you access this part of the site is Warlock. Okay. It's the game that they have coming out. That makes sense. Gives a description of what it is. Oh, you can have it on PC, PlayStation 5, Xbox. Okay, cool. And then I saw there were 3 others. And I played the game of what other things are they highlighting under digital for games? And I thought, well, obviously Baldur's Gate 3. So I click and there's Baldur's Gate 3. And I'm like, what other digital things? So I click one more and it's the battle marked Demio crossover thing. And I'm like, okay, cool. What is the last? What? I can't even, they're not going to do like, I just had, and it was Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms. And I was like, yeah, that's a thing.
It is.
Is that still?
It's still a thing. Yeah,
it's still a thing. Okay, cool. And it just made me wonder, like, how were those chosen, and what are you trying to capture through these different things? Obviously, Baldur's Gate 3 makes sense.
Yeah. And I think it's as simple as you and I know we've covered many times that these quarterly discussions to shareholders. Video games is this a huge investment. It's a big part of the franchise strategy. And while Warlock is sort of the obvious one thing we've got for the future, that's kind of, you've got to fill in the space and make it seem like there's a little bit more there. So you put more, even if reality is it's Baldur's Gate and Warlock as the real things that are going on.
But you know what's not there? Is Exodus.
Yeah, I wonder if because it's not D&D. Yeah, I bet they thought about it, right?
Yeah, it's just.
But it is a role playing game they provide, but it's through Renegade, so it's
right. It's curious. It's curious. So then we scroll down one more, and we get to the cinematic.
They could have had all of the older video games that have been re-released, but that's probably just a call back to people who have nostalgia and already know about them. So it's probably okay to skip.
Yeah. But the nostalgia for me was the previous one where it showed all the old games. It's like, oh, I remember playing first edition, and oh, maybe I could continue. I could play. That was so much fun, right? So if you're getting nostalgia there, you might as well nostalgia down here. Next, we get cinematic, and I did the same thing. I'm like, a cinematic. Well, obviously, the first thing they show is Honor Among Thieves. Makes perfect sense. What else can they show for cinematic? Because we've got other stuff that's been talked about, but nothing that's been released. And so I click over and it's like, okay, Stranger Things season 5. All right. I guess you probably, if you already know about D&D, you probably already know about Stranger Things, but maybe not. So you can click over there. And then for the life of me, I could not come up with the last one.
Me either.
All right. When I saw it, I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. It was the secret level episode Roll for Discovery. And I'm like, okay, that's cool too.
Yeah.
But you could just see they're getting ready for these next things. They're preparing to to share new stuff. So that was sort of, any other comments?
Well, yeah, one thing is, when you look at the top bar, okay, TRPG was weird. Video games made sense in terms of what it is. Movies and streaming. So we that's where we saw these venture into cinematic quests as the little cool looking icon next to the videos. And those 3 trailers you talked about. First is, I don't know where I can watch Honor Among Thieves. And I know that's hard because it changes, but some link to where I could reliably purchase this video would have been helpful, because this movie is amazing, and being able to buy this movie and watch it would be really good to have. And then it said streaming, and that's where I go, well, actually that Deborah and Wall thing could actually fit here, or any number of other things, right? It says movies and streaming, but it doesn't really deliver on streaming unless we're just talking about streaming television. Then you should just say movies and TV. But I think that it's worth saying that if what we want is entertainment, maybe that's where those actual plays should be as well. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So overall, I was excited just to see a new site that was obviously thought through. The art is amazing. The usability is, for me, fairly good. So, kudos, I think, in general, to the thorough nature of what they tried to cover here without overwhelming a new person while still serving an existing audience.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. It is one of the better websites that I've seen for this type of approach. Now, what it's not doing, it's interesting to go to D&D Beyond, for example, and say, well, what's on D&D Beyond, right? And you obviously have all of the your maps, my campaigns, characters, right? And that's easy to think, well, that's where I want it because there are those tools. But what the D&D website didn't tell me is that these things exist, right? The D&D website didn't say, you can make your characters, you can build campaigns that gather characters and you invite people to. You can share content through your campaign. There is a thing called maps, and here's what it does, right? None of that was on there. The Avray Discord bot, any of that. And there are things I wouldn't add because it complicates things, but these are all things that aren't captured. The idea of looking up the free rules, right? The SRD, right, that you can create for D&D isn't covered. And when we go to the community section of D&D Beyond, that's where you see things like the D&D Beyond forums, organized play sections, the find players lookup box, right? Legends of Greyhawk information, right? There's hilariously no Adventurers League on the dropdown for D&D Beyond, but I think you and I know why. And then, of course, there's the marketplace. And none of those things were linked to the D&D site. And I think those should be probably under this TRPG and community area. And it's worth finding a little place to put them in there. And maybe even that, D&D Beyond is giving you all these articles that can be interesting, right? Whether it's on, a lot of times these days it's on partner type things. But sometimes we've seen articles that are really cool ideas on how to use different products and breathe life into them. You wrote a series on how to write adventures, but even in recent times, there have been some interesting blogs here that would be really cool to showcase. And you might not know that that's what D&D Beyond is giving you, because if you come in new to this site, you think it's just where you go to make your character. And so it could have a place here.
All well taken. The new site also leads us to a landing page for all of the new Ravenloft stuff. So if we go to dungeonsanddragons.com/Ravenloft, we get all of the news that we delivered in our news section, or most of it. So if you didn't listen to our new section, we will give it a skim here. The main page gives you the elevator pitch for this. Ravenloft Horrors Within. Tonight, your party's greatest nightmare is the one you create. Bring fear to the table with Ravenloft, the Horrors Within, the complete horror toolkit with everything you need to create personalized horror campaigns and strike fear into the hearts of your players. Pre-order now. So, landing page does its job. Good stuff. And then we get to explore. What can we explore here? We can explore the domains of dread, the dark lords, or denizens of the mist. And each one is a little summary of, what is a domain of dread? Why are there 16 of them? The dark lords talk about the rulers of these domains, what their story is in general, which is they rule these domains, but they're prisoners themselves. And then denizens of the mist, we get to know that there are new adventures and new monsters that will be presented in this book.
Yeah, and there's nice art there for each of those options from the upcoming book. That's neat. We then get a watch section, which brings us back to that actual play that we already talked about. Then the unlock playable content area, which shows, grayed out, coming soon type things, but you'll eventually be able to flip through all of them and see that all those exist, which certainly builds the case for pre-ordering when you see all these theoretically neat things that you're going to miss out on otherwise. And then the section Haunted Heroes, again, really gorgeous art from the upcoming book. And this just simply lets you flip through the various classes that are here: Grave Domain, Cleric, College of Spirits, Bard, Reanimator, Artificer, Hollow Warden, Ranger, Phantom Rogue, Shadow Sorcery, Sorcerer, Undead Patron, Warlock. So you can look through those and see the character art. You can't click on them, but it does show the images of them and the names.
Then it tells you where you can get the Ultimate Horror Toolkit. So it's the bundle that you can get, which will give you both the digital and the physical copy of the book, as well as a physical Taroka deck, the DM screen, a map pack specifically for Ravenloft, all the options from the play along pack, which we've talked about, the D&D Encounters mini adventure, Shadows of Sithicus, and then the digital dice set. I'm waiting for the physical version of the digital dice set, Teos. Where can I get that?
Yeah, I don't know about that. I think we talked to the D&D Beyond folks about that, where they said if you can figure out how to make, Spelljammer dice that explode into ships when you roll a crit, they'll make them. But yeah, I'm sure there'll be dice partners anyway. We fear not. But the Ultimate Bundle is it's a lot. This is where you get into that question of what, where D&D's revenue is coming from and what's good long-term strategy. It's $150 for that Ultimate Bundle. And that is a big price. It is, getting towards Beetle and Grimm's type territory, which of course you can also get. And what I always worry about is it can create a sense that, hey, we're getting all these awesome sales from D&D Beyond. That's what we care about. But there's a reason D&D seeded, licensed out to Beetle and Grimm's, because it's great to have a cut of that money. But what your focus was wide, right? Like we talked about our first segment. You're trying to bring in lots of new players, and that's your sort of focus, and not whales, right? Not the people with the most money, despite our K-shaped economy. You are trying to reach out to everybody to build lifelong fans that will buy at any level, but be part of that vibrant community, be part of that expression of D&D, so that things like the Baldur's Gate video game comes out and it's an enormous success because all these people think of D&D as having had a touch point in their lives. And so there's a dance. Can you have both? Sure, probably. But you have to be a little bit careful that you don't so focus on D&D Beyond to where you've forgotten your gaming stores or your just what it's like to just pick up that hardback book and play, right?
Yeah, which of course you can do. I love this idea of the play along pack. I think it makes the actual play more watchable.
Yeah.
For a wider audience. It's not just new folks. It's not just experienced folks that want to see the stuff, but it gives you a reason to get invested before the book is out. And I am getting something I can play right now with my players, even though the book does not come out for 2 months. Yes, I want that.
Yeah, we'll see how that cadence plays, right? I also think back on, say, the D&D Encounters season, second season of D&D Encounters during 4th edition that was for Dark Sun. It began just before the books released, but the majority of the season was played while you could have the books. And it was really neat to see people get excited about the fact that this world was so different and get up and go and buy that book from the store and then sit back down. And when you're playing only previews for a long time, you might then decide you've had your fill and actually don't want to buy it. I don't know that that'll happen, right? But I wonder to what extent the delay of a couple of months where the season, right, when we look at that roadmap, when we were talking about, wait, what's the timing like? The idea that, well, the season begins when things are available on this streaming show and these advanced packs, does that build great excitement to everybody who wants to buy it? Or does it sort of make you then start looking forward to the next thing? Because what ends up happening is by the time the new book comes out, Ravenloft comes out, everybody's switching gears to talk about the next season. When I think what you want is a lot of energy for that book release.
Yeah. And I think that in order to get this, other than the first play along pack, in order to get the play along pack, you will have already purchased the book.
Maybe. Yeah. Or at least for the second one that isn't free. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And there are several. It looks like I think there's at least 8 and possibly more. So the people that get that play along pack content may be using it in their home games, but it's only small bits of it, and they've already bought it.
Yeah.
When the D&D Encounters season starts, as far as we know, that will be right around the time that the book drops. So that will be more in line with what you're talking about with the Dark Sun 4th edition, where people will play it for the first time in the game store and be right there when hopefully the books are available, the map packs are available, all of that stuff's there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be really interesting to watch. And what I do see, I may sound negative at times, but what I do see is the D&D team being very like intentional about all of this. And I think smart questions are being asked. There are so many, hopefully someone listens to our show and thinks, man, there are a lot of ways you could do this, right? This is complex. This is difficult to chart a course. And I think they are doing a really good job with it. And so I'm excited to see how it plays out and what we all learn from it. They'll learn, we'll learn. And this website will evolve. And if there's one thing I can say is incredibly, incredibly likely, one day this website will be gone.
Except you will be able to pull it up and show what it was.
Yeah, we'll take your screenshots now for the future show.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you all for listening. I hope that was informative and fun and enlightening. We want to thank our patrons, especially all our new patrons out there, for supporting us. Did you have anything to say, Teos, before we head into the closing?
Just that, next week, stay tuned as we talk about some classics. Against the Giants, I'm holding up.
Against the Giants, that's right. We will dig into the past adventure module that inspired Storm King's Thunder. So thank you to our Master of Dungeon supporters. We really do appreciate you helping us out here, keeping this light going that you used to see me at least. Thank you to our Master of Realms supporters. And thank you especially to our Master of the Multiverse patrons. Some of you will be getting your name mangled for the first time, starting with Agile Monk of Fantasy Companion Workshops, Keith Ammon of The Monsters Know What They're Doing, Lou Anders of Lazy Wolf Studios, Craig Bailey, Rudy Chainsaw Basso, David Bastiansen, Derek the Bearded GM, Steve Bissonette, Merrick Blackman, Bosch-John from Duality Press, Calvin Bridges of Alos, Brobo Ballin, Kevin Criswell, Dead Inertia DM, Evil John, Evan at Nimbleco, Kevin Davis, Will Doyle, Andy Edmonds at nerdronomicon.com, James Fisher, Scott Fitzgerald Gray at Insane Angel Studios, Ted and Guyana of Frog Helmet Games, Ben Heisler and Paige Laitman, Simon the Hunter, Shawn Hurst, Hyperlexic, the Jaunty Mantis TTRPG Podcast, Mark and Mary's Gaming Compound, The Mighty Jerd, JR of the Twilight Perspective, JT Evans, Brian King, Jim Klingler, Gail Kiermandy, Will Lane, Leftria, Chad Blench, Paul Mata, the Mathemagician, Jaren from Mathis Arcanum, Eric Mengi, Anna B. Meyer of Fantasy Cartography, Trey McLemore, Michael, John Mickey, Sean Malley, Falcon Neal, Tom Nelson, creator of the Deck of Player Safety, DT Norris of DT and Dragons, Phil Wirt from the Philadelphia Area Gaming Expo, Philip and Lindsay, Frog Prince at Tentacles Squelching Wetly, Post Fiction RPG Audio, Ricardo Who Might Adventure, Robert Pasley. Have a good time playing this weekend, Robert. Vladimir Prunner from Croatia, Joe Rosso, Ozymandias Rex, Runner Rick, David Rideout, Chance Russo at Drago Russo, Andy Shockney, Krishna Simons, Tim Smith, Spark from Dunor Games, Jeff Stevens at jeffstevensgames.com, Josh and Lee Wanika of the Tabletop Journeys podcast, Talos the Stormlord, Jeremy Talaman from Masters of Alchemy, Trace, Ryan Truk, Joe Tyler, Marcelo de Velasquez, the Valiant DM, Dwokles G, James Walton, Graham Ward, Jason Ward from Accidental Cyclops Games, Javier Waziak, Waterford Wizard, Chris Webster, and Z. Walt Winfrey. Thank you all so much for your support. We will be adding more names to this list next week. If you would like to support the show and also get some really cool gaming content, you can go to patreon.com/masteringdnd. If you can't help us out monetarily, that's okay. You can also help us by going to wherever you listen to this podcast, giving us a review, a rating, give us those 5 stars, go to YouTube, youtube.com/@masteringdungeons, and give us comments and likes and subscriptions and all of that. Teos, what have you been up to and where can people find it?
I have been cracking Suns, so you can't find that yet, but I do hope to have this week my breakdown that I finally concluded of all of the new 2026 monsters and how that changes the math overall. So look for a blog post for that and a video as well. Hopefully I get that out this week. Depends on how much cracking of Suns I do, but we'll see.
Well, a lot of sun cracking will be happening in this household as well. Woo! And yes. And so you can find me and the show on the social medias at Shawn Merwin or at Mastering D&D. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Teos. What are we going to do now?
Well, I'm going to build up my own website for Against the Giants, where I go into my fanfic. You can download all my fanfic for all the different giant types and why I love each and every one of them so much.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to sit and fret about what I did wrong on the 2 giants that we've given away for free and wondering why didn't I design them a different way?
No, they were great. You have to love your work, Shawn. They were amazing.
I do love my work.
That belly attack alone worth the price of admission, if you ask me. Shawn put in a thing where when you go up to attack this giant, he sends you flying with his belly, possibly interrupting your attacks. That's.
You didn't like the stone giant acne?
I didn't think of it that way. Now I like it more. That's beautiful. See,
there
we
you go.
draw upon what we know.
It's true.